p.m. If you would like to make a comment during the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, there is a sign-in roster located at each entrance. Please sign in. Does anyone wish to make a comment? Please state your name, city of residence for the record. Limit comments to 3 minutes, and we will have a timer on screen for your reference. Seeing no comments, I will turn the meeting over to the Planning and Development.
We've got the sign-in roster. I think a couple people signed up, but didn't speak on a specific item.
Okay, thank you. Turn the meeting over to the Planning and Development Director, Brian Chandler.
All right. Thank you, Chair Krause, members of the commission. And just to let you all know, the public who have signed up, there will be a public hearing once the meeting starts at 5:30. You know, the workshop gives you an opportunity, but they will take action during the regular meeting. And so you'll have an opportunity to comment either at the beginning or perhaps when the case is heard that you're interested in. Okay. All right. Got a pretty full agenda for tonight, but I guess before we start on that, I want to introduce Caleb Longino, our newest P&Z member. So he'll be fulfilling the remainder of, I guess he's got about a year left. I think it was on Commissioner Jeans on his 3-year deal, and for lack of a better term, we'll just call it deal. And he'll have an opportunity for reappointment once that term expires. There it is. All right. And so for tonight, let's just talk about regular agenda, starting with, well, the consent. We've got a plat. Any concerns, any questions, or can that just remain on consent for Eugenia Terrace? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the regular agenda and number 6. So this will take a little bit of time to update you for 7040 Brookside Boulevard. Good afternoon, Mr. Lytle. No, I know. I was wanting to make sure you're okay. You're usually early. So thank you for joining us. And so Brookside Boulevard, this is an amendment to the 2022 plan development rezoning just for the northeast corner of the project, the 10 acres. For those of you that were in P&Z, you'll recall that this is a mixed use development. You got single family on the western side, multifamily along Prairie View and Lightner, kind of that northwest corner of that intersection. And then just to the north of it, the airport section, they had general retail approved with the original site plan, but they've come back, for a variety of reasons, they are proposing adding warehouse office to that 10 acres, but keeping retail along the airport frontage and the Lightner lane frontage with a lot of the same conditions that were approved with the 2022 ordinance, including improving that they would be required to improve Lightner Lane because, the frontage, all of Lightner Lane from airport to Prairie View fronts their development. So essentially any new traffic that's just not current cut through traffic that's generated by that development, is going to have a big impact on Lightner Lane. So the applicant has requested to table this again indefinitely. And I think the biggest reason is
Brian.
Yes.
It's till April 21st.
Okay. So when I heard indefinitely earlier, then that was not correct.
Right.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
I was reading the wrong email.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. So to the 21st, thank you for the clarification. And the big reason is presumably because we did hear from the owners of the residential, still part of that same master plan, that WB Development purchased those residential lots from this same developer that's doing the retail and proposing the warehouse office. But WB opposes this project. So that would trigger a supermajority. Remember the the protest. When we have that, we have to calculate within the 200-foot notification boundary. If 20% or more of the property within that 200-foot buffer is represented by opposition, then it triggers a supermajority vote at council. And so I think they wanted to kind of take that information and see what they can do with it. But that is the request, is to table again, but to date specific, which would be, 2 weeks from today, the 21st. And then we would also re-advertise, in the newspaper, because that includes a new council date. So council on May 1st. So you'll have an opportunity to hear that presentation or just take action. And raise your hand if anybody is here to talk about that case, Lightner Lane. Okay. And so these folks in the audience are not. The applicants are probably online or will be online perhaps for the regular agenda. But any questions about that one? I mean,
So
there's
my
a lot.
question was on that one, it was the subdivision, did you say WB owns that now, not
The residential, so the single family that's already
approved and everything?
are
Yeah,
already approved. Yep. So that WB owns that. The developer for the entire project sold it to WB, and WB is opposing the warehouse office.
okay.
So a little awkward.
Because I saw Keela and Thomas had, or like Scott or somebody had a reject on it or disagree.
Well, so they owned property so the entire master plan gets, the plan development boundary.
Uh-huh.
The 200-foot is actually around all that. So it's outside, so WB is part of the notification, but it also includes 200 feet outside of the WB development. Keela and Baird owned the property to the west as part of the Northgate subdivision. And so that's
That's why that came.
Yeah.
Okay.
so. Anything else on that one?
So we can just make a motion to table it.
With date specific, if that would be preferable, because, well, either way, we're gonna renotice. We're gonna re-advertise in the newspaper. We'd prefer not to have to send notices to everybody again, which.
Who owns that property now, though? Who's the applicant for the warehouse?
Red Oak,
Red
Red
Oak,
Oak Development.
Okay.
Yep. They're Austin based.
Okay, so that's on there. Okay.
All right, the next one. And I'll go fast. Okay. So 1818 North Third Street. I think this one is pretty, this is a kind of more of a micro scale. This is, just keeping the zoning general retail for one of them, one of the lots, and single family one for the other. The Pegasus Drive project. This is actually, Keela is the applicant. It's Temple Economic Development Corporation is working with Keela Development to develop according to the master plan or a concept plan that is part of this plan development. Cheryl's a case manager. There's a lot on this one, but it's 122 acres. So big development north of the industrial park, and having future mixed uses adjacent to the outer loop, that section which we have under construction.
From the last, well, I wasn't here the last P and Z meeting, but the one before, there was one in that area off of Moore's Mill for something. Was that approved by council?
Yes, and so and if there's time after this, then I'll give you an update on that one. But
Okay.
the
But those
warehouse
are gonna
office,
kind of,
they're near each other.
they're near each
Yes,
other.
sir.
Okay.
Exactly. All right. And then the next one at 5300 South General Bruce Drive. This is a proposed expansion of United Rentals. So United Rentals, on South General Bruce, it's a non-conforming use. It's a grandfathered use, essentially heavy machinery sales or rentals. And as long as they don't expand, they're allowed to be there legally. But they're proposing to expand. And so the only way to do that is to add a planned development. And so they're working with the owners to the south to try to occupy that piece of property, develop it. And they have a site plan that they've submitted. Let's see, Cheryl, you're the case manager for that one as well. And we're actually recommending disapproval, but we'll go into the details of that in that presentation. And that is all. Any other questions about that before I just give you a quick update on recent council cases, including that other one, Moore's Mill and Pegasus Warehouse Office? And so, yes, thank you. All right. So 2 cases, starting with that one at Pegasus. You know, you'll recall a little over 5 acres. And so warehouse office with a plan development, so includes the site plan. And remember these conditions related to the landscaping and buffering. And what I want to point out is that there was some discussion about the buffering and screening adjacent really to the neighbor on really on an acreage to the northwest. So by code, they're required to have a 20-foot landscape buffer. That's what they have proposed and that's what they prefer. But the question came up as to whether the neighbors would prefer to have a wall, an 8-foot wall. You know, clearly that's lower maintenance and the landscaping would take a while for it to actually provide the buffering and screening. So that is something that will be discussed with the neighbors to the northwest. And then we're going to report back to council at second reading. And that'll be on consent agenda unless the preference is for the wall, then that would be a change and would have to be presented at that time.
What's the physical address of that one?
That is 56, let's see. There you go, 5642 Pegasus.
Okay, thanks.
So it's just on the other side of Moore's Mill Road from the zoning case on the agenda tonight. And then the other piece of this, you know, the improvements that they would be required, concrete, literally concrete paving improvements would that was part of their approval, is that the applicant is responsible for making some improvements that will help prevent further degradation of Pegasus Road. And that is that one. And then the other case, the proposed gas station. You all remember that one. And so we presented the addition that you all had made in the recommendation to prevent overnight parking. And so that was included and also approved per P&Z recommendation. And of course, here are all the conditions.
Councilmember Walker's addition.
Well, remind me because we're running out of time.
Councilmember Walker also added a condition for the smaller retail building to not allow a standalone vape shop or tobacco sales.
Yes, thank you. That's right. All right. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Do I have a volunteer for the invocation? Commissioner Morales will give the invocation. Do I have a volunteer for the pledge? Commissioner Carney will do the pledge. Tiffany, do we have any affidavits?
Commissioners, for the record, no affidavit to abstain has been received for this meeting. Is this correct? Thank you.
Is there any additional business? If not, the work session is closed at 5:30 p.m.
Please give us a second to switch the Zoom over.